Live from New Delhi, you're watching DD India Live, India's voice to the world. I'm Mark Lynn. Namaskar. Coming up in the next 30 minutes. The US to begin blockade of all Iran ports in Hormuz today as France, UK to lead multinational mission to restore navigation in the Strait of Hormuz. Prime Minister Narendra Modi calls for support on India's defining reform of the 21st century to empower women. He says that Indian women's power has made immense contribution. And the government says that the Indian-flagged vessel Jag Vikram is carrying around 20,400 metric tons of LPG and it's expected to reach the Kandla port on the 14th of April. The US military will enforce a blockade in the Gulf of Oman and the Arabian Sea east of the Strait of Hormuz, and it will apply to all vessels traffic regardless of flag. That's what the US Central Command said in a note to seafarers which was seen by a news agency on Monday. The advanced note, it said that the blockade would come into effect at 1400 hours GMT on Monday. Now, as this blockade of all Iran ports in Hormuz begins today, the United Kingdom and France, they aim to co-host talks this week to restore freedom of navigation in the Strait of Hormuz amid rising tensions in the Gulf. The French President Emmanuel Macron said that discussions will explore a strictly defensive multinational naval mission which is separate from the warring sides, and this is to safeguard shipping. The UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer said that the closure of the strait is hurting global trade, and he said that it's adding to the cost of living pressures, and he said that the countries now will work towards a coordinated plan to ensure safe maritime movement once the conflict eases. The Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has said that Israel supports US President Donald Trump's decision to impose a naval blockade on Iran, adding that his government is in full coordination with Washington on the matter. Netanyahu said that Tehran had violated the terms of the talks to begin with, saying that Vance had briefed him after the negotiations ended in Islamabad. Netanyahu also said that Vance had told him that the central issue for Trump was the removal of all enriched uranium from Iran and ensuring that there is no further enrichment in the years ahead, even decades ahead, no enrichment within Iran. The British Prime Minister Keir Starmer has said the United Kingdom will not be drawn into a conflict, the Iran conflict that is, and it will not support any blockade of the Strait of Hormuz. Starmer emphasized that reopening the strait remains a top priority of Britain, with Britain focusing its efforts on ensuring the navigation of freedom of navigation in that region. He noted that the UK military assets, including minesweepers, they are deployed with the aim to keep this vital shipping route fully operational. So his remarks, in fact, they come amid these rising tensions as the United States has announced a blockade targeting Iranian ports following stalled negotiations with Tehran. The European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen also stressed on Monday that restoring freedom of navigation in the Strait of Hormuz is of paramount importance following escalating tensions between Washington and Tehran.
The ongoing closure of the Strait of Hormuz is greatly damaging, and the restoration of the freedom of navigation is of paramount importance for us. We're also worried that the continuous strike on Lebanon threatened to derail the entire process. We are mobilizing relief EU stocks to provide immediate aid to the Lebanese people, but no amount of aid can replace the safety of a permanent peace. A key lesson of the past weeks is that security is indivisible.
China said a blockade of the Strait of Hormuz would go against the international community's interests and has urged calm and restraint by all sides. The blockade of the Strait of Hormuz does not serve the common interests of the international community, the Chinese Foreign Minister Wang Yi told a special envoy of the UAE President to China, Khaldoon Khalifa al-Mubarak, in Beijing on Monday. This is according to a Foreign Ministry statement. Well, Wang Yi also said that China understood the legitimate security concerns of the Gulf Arab states and that the fundamental way to resolve this crisis was a comprehensive and lasting ceasefire achieved through political and diplomatic means. One of the major sticking points in the ceasefire talks is the conflict between Israel and Lebanon over Iran-backed Hezbollah. The Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu said that Israeli forces had eliminated the threat of an invasion by Hezbollah militants during a visit to troops in southern Lebanon. He said the war continues, including within the security zone in Lebanon. Israel has said that the temporary ceasefire in the wider West Asia region and in the wider West Asia war, it does not apply to its battle with Hezbollah in Lebanon. Well, the Israeli officials, they've repeatedly said that Israel wants to establish a security zone in southern Lebanon, and this is to help prevent Hezbollah attacks. The Lebanese Prime Minister Nawaf Salam, he vowed that he's going to keep working to ensure the withdrawal of Israeli troops. Lebanon was pulled into this conflict, he said, when Hezbollah fired rockets at Israel after U.S.-Israeli strikes killed Iran's supreme leader. Nawaf Salam said that there was a moral obligation to protect the civilian population from the atrocities of war. The Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu met Holocaust survivors on Sunday ahead of the country's annual remembrance events. Referring directly to the survivors' experiences, Netanyahu said that Israel's military strength represented a fundamental change from the past, promising that the situation was different now, and he vowed that there will not be another Holocaust.
Today we are hunting the enemy. We prevented them from carrying out their plan of annihilation with a force that has brought the state of Israel to the peak of its power since its founding. Who would have believed 80 years ago that our daring pilots, men and women alike, would be over the skies of Iran, over the skies of Tehran, and not alone, but together with the greatest power in the world, flying wing to wing in order to strike the foe.
The Kremlin said that it hopes to continue highly pragmatic ties with Hungary following a major political shift in that country.
The
Hungarians have made their choice, and we respect that choice. We expect to continue our highly pragmatic contacts with Hungary's new leadership. We have heard statements about a readiness to engage in dialogue. Naturally, this would be beneficial both for Moscow and for Budapest. As for what actions the new Hungarian leadership will take, we will likely need to be patient and see how events unfold. I repeat, we are interested in building good relations with Hungary as well as all European countries. We know that when it comes to the European countries, for now there is no reciprocity.
Pope Leo is starting a 10-day tour to 4 African countries aboard the papal flight to Algiers. The US-born Pope said that he will not shy away from announcing the message of the gospel after the US President Donald Trump's direct attack on the leader of a 1.4 billion member Catholic Church.
They are certainly not meant as attacks on anyone, and the message of the gospel is very clear: blessed are the peacemakers. I will not shy away from announcing the message of the gospel, of inviting all people to look for ways of building bridges for peace and reconciliation, of looking for ways to avoid war anytime that's possible, to put my message on the same plane as what the president has attempted to do here, I think is not understanding what the message of the gospel is. And I'm sorry to hear that, but I will continue on with what I believe is the mission of the church in the world.
Voting in Peru's presidential election is extended into a second day in some precincts of the capital after disruption on Sunday. Logistical problems tied to the distribution of voting materials prompted officials to extend the voting onto Monday, and this is for tens of thousands of voters who were unable to cast their ballots on Sunday. The Conservative candidate Keiko Fujimori held a narrow lead in the crowded presidential race. The official count from the electoral authorities showed in the early hours that the former Congresswoman Fujimori was leading with about 17% of the vote. Still to come here on DD India Live. The External Affairs Minister Jaishankar meets European People's Party President Manfred Weber in Delhi. And Indian forces mark 42 years of Operation Meghdoot. The Jallianwala Bagh massacre is remembered as well. It ignited India's fight for freedom. Geopolitics and trade deals. Economic challenges amid development. Hard work and the path to prosperity. It's the economy always. Between walkers, money is what money does and says. Supply creates its own demand. Between the bulls pulls and bears tears. When supply chains globalization and India rises to the podium. We'll get you centered with the economic brief at 8 p.m. every Thursday on DD India. You're watching DD India Live. I'm Mark Lynn. Moving on to our next story. The Nari Shakti Vandan Sammelan held in New Delhi brought together leading women achievers and policymakers, spotlighting the growing role of women in shaping India's future. Addressing that gathering, the Prime Minister, he said that women's empowerment is central to India's journey towards becoming a developed nation. Let's look at this report.
Nari Shakti Vandan Sammelan, organized at New Delhi's Vigyan Bhavan on Monday, witnessed participation of eminent personalities and women achievers from diverse fields. It brought together representatives from different sectors such as government, academia, science, sports, entrepreneurship, media, social work, and culture who gathered to witness history in the making. The program comes ahead of Parliament's session, which is to be convened on 16th, 17th, and 18th of April. Speaking on the occasion, Prime Minister Narendra Modi hailed Nari Shakti and said that India's journey to become a developed nation is incomplete without women empowerment.
भारत 21वीं सदी के सबसे बड़े निर्णयों में से एक निर्णय लेने जा रहा है। ये निर्णय नारी शक्ति को समर्पित है। साथियों, हमारा प्रयास है और हमारी प्राथमिकता भी है। इस बार भी ये काम संवाद, सहयोग और सहभागिता से हो।
The Sammelan was organized to reinforce the commitment towards greater participation of women in shaping India's development trajectory. It highlighted the increasing role of women in governance and leadership across all levels, from panchayats to parliament. Many eminent personalities echoed PM Modi's vision and thanked him for such breakthrough initiative.
ये हमारा संघर्ष इतने दिनों से चल रहा है और ये देश के हित में, नारी के हित में तो है ही, पूरी मानवता के हित में है, देश के हित में है।
India has to get number one people in the house to make decisions, and women from all fields and areas who are educated, who have learned from the country, are here to serve the country.
In September 2023, Parliament passed the Nari Shakti Vandan Adhiniyam, marking a significant step towards enhancing women's representation in legislative bodies. The act provided for reservation of 1/3 of seats for women in the Lok Sabha and state legislative assemblies. Through the Sammelan, the government not only highlighted the role of women in the journey towards Viksit Bharat 2047, but also ensured government's continued commitment towards women-led development as a central pillar of the vision for Viksit Bharat 2047.
Ahead of the special parliament session, which is scheduled for the 16th, 17th and the 18th of this month, Nari Shakti Vandan Sammelan was organized, and Prime Minister Narendra Modi not only delivered a very strong message to each and every woman of the country, but also ensured that the aspirations of all the women are being taken care of and their dreams will be fulfilled, giving new wings to their dreams through this Nari Shakti Vandan Adhiniyam. With camera person Vimlesh, this is Deepika reporting for DD India from New Delhi.
As part of its ongoing outreach to keep the media informed on the evolving situation in West Asia, the Government of India convened a briefing in New Delhi today, and the government assured that domestic LPG supplies remain stable with no reports of shortages across distributors.
हमारी LPG domestic LPG सप्लाई नॉर्मल है, किसी भी डिस्ट्रीब्यूटर पर कोई ड्राई आउट रिपोर्टेड नहीं है। ऑनलाइन बुकिंग लगभग 99% तक पहुंच गई है। इसके अलावा डाइवर्जन को रोकने के लिए OTP बेस LPG डिलीवरी की जा रही है। कमर्शियल सप्लाईज के संबंध में जैसा कि आप जानते हैं कि 70% तक रेस्टोर की जा चुकी है, and the measures have been taken to prevent supply chain disruptions, avoid shortages of essential goods, and ensure continuity of industrial operation despite the ongoing global crisis. और अभी तक 14 मार्च से लगभग 1,82,900 टन कमर्शियल LPG की सेल हुई है।
Meanwhile, offering further reassurance, the Ministry of Ports, Shipping and Waterways confirmed that the Indian-flagged LPG vessel Jag Vikram has safely crossed the Strait of Hormuz on April 11.
इंडियन फ्लैग्ड LPG वेसल जग विक्रम ने 11 अप्रैल को क्रॉस किया था स्ट्रेट ऑफ हॉर्मुज को, और इस वेसल पर करीब 20,400 मैट्रिक टन LPG है और इसमें 24 सी फेरर ऑन बोर्ड हैं, और इसके अब 14 अप्रैल को कांडला पहुंचने की संभावना है। मिनिस्ट्री ने अब तक 2177 से अधिक भारतीय सीफेरर की सेफ रिपेट्रिएशन फैसिलिटेट की है। इनमें 93 सीफेरर को पिछले 24 घंटे में गल्फ के विभिन्न लोकेशन से वापस लाया है। भारत के सभी पोर्ट्स पर ऑपरेशन नॉर्मल हैं और किसी प्रकार के कंजेशन की रिपोर्ट प्राप्त नहीं हुई है।
India's External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar on Monday met the European People's Party President Manfred Weber in Delhi. And in a post on X, the Minister Jaishankar noted that both sides had agreed on the need to sustain the positive momentum in India-EU ties and work towards early ratification of the India-EU Free Trade Agreement. The minister also held a discussion with Kuwait's Foreign Minister Sheikh Jara Jaber Al Ahmed Al Sabah, focusing on a regional situation and also the well-being of the Indian community in Kuwait. The Indian Army and the Indian Air Force paid tribute to soldiers serving at Siachen Glacier on Monday. Marking 42 years of Operation Meghdoot, the forces honored the courage and sacrifice of troops who secured the world's highest battlefield in extreme conditions. The operation, launched on April 13, 1984, remains a symbol of valor and endurance at altitudes above 20,000 feet. In Bangladesh, the family of the slain Pir Abdul Rahman Shamim has refused to file a case over Shamim's brutal killing in Kushtia, deepening concerns about accountability and the growing culture of impunity surrounding mob violence. Shamim, also known as Kalandar Baba, was beaten and hacked to death on Saturday by a mob in Daulatpur Upazilla, after a video allegedly showing him making derogatory remarks about the Quran circulated on social media. The mob also vandalized and set fire to his shrine. Adding to tensions, in fact, the police have been deployed at the residence of Baul singer Shafi Mundal, and also after his association with this shrine surfaced in viral content highlighting how misinformation and online narratives continue to fuel unrest. The India Meteorological Department has predicted below normal southwest monsoon seasonal rainfall over the country as a whole during 2026. Quantitatively, the southwest monsoon seasonal rainfall over the country as a whole during 2026 is likely to be only 92% of the long period average, with a model error of plus or minus 5%. Now, the LPA, the long period average of the monsoon seasonal rainfall over the country as a whole, based on the 1971 to 2020 time frame, is 87 centimeters, and spatially below normal seasonal rainfall is most likely over many parts of the country except some areas of the northeast and the northwest and the South Peninsular India, where it's likely to be normal to even above normal. The El Nino Southern Oscillation neutral conditions are most likely during April to June 2026. Thereafter, El Nino conditions are very likely during southwest monsoon season. The neutral Indian Ocean dipole conditions are also prevailing over the Indian Ocean. The positive IOD conditions, they are likely to develop towards the end of southwest monsoon season, which is favorable for southwest monsoon seasonal rainfall. The Northern Hemisphere snow cover as well as the Eurasian snow cover during January to March 2026 were slightly below normal, which is favorable actually for the southwest monsoon seasonal rainfall of 2026. Now, in 1919, the Baisakhi massacre at Jallianwala Bagh saw innocent blood shed by the British bullets. Now, this brutal assault on unarmed souls didn't silence India. In fact, it ignited an immortal flame that eventually led to India becoming, a nation that is free, a hard-won liberty, which was ignited by this incident. Antara Sinha has more on how an indebted nation remembers the supreme sacrifice.
Today marks one of the darkest chapters in India's struggle for freedom, the Jallianwala Bagh massacre of the 13th of April 1919. At that time, the British government had imposed the Roulette Act, severely curtailing civil liberties. Protests had erupted across the country. In the city of Amritsar in the state of Punjab, the arrest of two popular leaders, Dr. Satyapal and Dr. Saifuddin Kichliu, had led to unrest among people. The 13th of April was Baisakhi, a major harvest festival of Punjab. Thousands of people, including women, children and elder villagers from surrounding areas, had gathered peacefully at Jallianwala Bagh. It was an enclosed garden with narrow exits. Some had come to celebrate the festival, while others to protest peacefully against the Roulette Act. The crowd numbered between 10,000 and 20,000. Without any warning or order to disperse, Brigadier General Reginald Dyer arrived with troops. He ordered the soldiers to block the main exit and open fire on the unarmed gathering. For nearly 10 minutes, the troops fired continuously, expending over 1,650 rounds. People desperately tried to escape through the narrow gates. Many jumped into the well inside the garden in a bid to save their lives. Official British figures reported 379 deaths and over 1,200 injured. Indian estimates placed the death toll at more than 1,000, with thousands more injured. Many perished from bullet wounds in the stampede or by drowning in the well. No immediate medical aid was provided and a curfew prevented help from reaching the injured. The massacre shook the entire nation. Outraged by the indiscriminate firing on unarmed Indians, Gurudev Rabindranath Tagore renounced his knighthood in protest. It became a turning point in India's freedom movement, deeply eroding faith in British justice and strengthening the resolve for Mahatma Gandhi's non-violent struggle, which soon led to the non-cooperation movement. Even today, the bullet marks on the walls of Jallianwala Bagh and the Martyrs' Well bear silent witness to the supreme sacrifice made for the cause of freedom. As we pay homage to the innocent lives lost on that tragic day, let us remember the enduring power of truth, non-violence, and the spirit of patriotism. Antara Sinha for DD India.
Well, the last rites of the legendary Indian playback singer Asha Bhosle were performed at Shivaji Park in Mumbai on Monday. The iconic singer was accorded full state honours. Members of the Bhosle and Mangeshkar families, along with several film personalities, gathered to pay their final respects to the artist who is fondly known as Asha Thai. She passed away at the age of 92 following a cardiac arrest, leaving behind a huge legacy, some say unparalleled, in Indian music. Well, that's all we have in this edition of DD India Live. Let's know your thoughts on the news of the day. For those of you on the go, get the latest news and updates from India and across the world on the DD India mobile app. It's available on Android and iOS platforms. You can scan the QR code and download it now. We'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Mark Lynn. Thank you very much for watching DD India Live. Namaskar.